In episode number 251, we cover Wizard World's show cancellations.
And Stallone keeps saying that he is done with the Rocky franchise, yet he Instagrams hints for Creed 2.
We also have the latest box office returns for Wonder Woman. Is it living up to everything we knew it would? Of course it is.
Our comic book highlight this week comes from Alternate Comics with Mother Russia #1.
All of this and much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Emperor Papa Kelly.
And I'm Daniel, Darth Vader-Daniel.
Darth Vader-Daniel. For those of you joining us for the first time, the way we format the show is first we start out with some news, covering all those things we just mentioned, and we follow up with our Patreon shoutouts and a comic book highlight of the week.
We did get a bunch of hashtag responses this week, a really good amount of them. But before we jump into that, the listeners know that you are a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. You love most of the movies. You love the ride and the movies because of the ride. And there are changes that are happening. And it started off with Disneyland Paris is what you had told me initially. And I was like, I broke the bad news to you and said, no, it's actually going to be everywhere. And Nicholas on Instagram pointed this out, and I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Kelly loves this ride, and we haven't talked about it on the show. So there are changes happening to this, and they're not the first time that they've changed Pirates of the Caribbean, but let them know what is going away at this classic ride at all of the Disney parks.
So there's a scene in the ride where it's a bride auction. So the pirates have captured all these women, and they're selling them, essentially. And he's selling one lady, and then the crowd is cheering and stops him. They're like, no, we want the redhead. And there's a redhead standing behind him. And then they all go, yeah, we want the redhead. And they're getting rid of that. And they're still going to have the iconic redhead. But now she's going to be a pirate too. She's a somebody with a gun and she's defending herself.
She's a redhead pirate. Maybe it's Anne Bonny now.
Or maybe. They haven't said she's a pirate though. They just said that she's going to be there defending herself.
Well, I guess they're saying that from the artwork I saw, she's collecting bounty, and she has like a gun and a pirate hat, so it's almost as if she's now collecting bounty from the town as well. So they're adding female pirates to it, which I don't think they've had on the ride yet.
No, it's all male.
And before that, they changed the little animated thing of like the guy chasing the girl around, and she's like, "Oh!" and he's like, "Ah!" and they switched it so that it's them, like the guy being chased by the women as they're getting hit by like pots and pans and bread rollers and brooms.
They also added Jack Sparrow after the movies.
Right.
They did get rid of before you went down the drop, at least in the one in Florida. Before you went down the drop, there was a skull and crossbones like right above it. That was like, rah, 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 rah.
I don't remember that. That must have been before I moved to Florida.
No, I remember that. The first time I rode that ride, I was like, oh my God.
And they've also, the ride itself has never been a happy ride.
No.
It's a story of pirates coming into a town, destroying it, raiding it completely, and then the ride is over. Like, you see the pirates drunk at the end, and the whole town is burning, and then you just see Jack Sparrow.
The pirates are in jail.
A couple of them are, but the rest of them are, who caught them? No one caught them. A couple of idiots I don't think those are pirates in jail. I think those are just criminals that are trying to get out now that the pirates are, just like in the movie, now that the pirates are in the town and there's no more police. So they're like, we need to get out of here. No one's going to let us out. And that's kind of, I always thought that was the joke. So once again, it's a pretty dark ride when you think about it. But it seems like slowly they are changing some of the less politically correct things in the ride, like before with the men chasing the women around. Well, in this case, you have a personal story with that redhead bride that is being auctioned off.
Well, I have it with sort of the whole ride. So the first time I went to Walt Disney World, I think was my 6th birthday. My parents took me. And that's a pretty scary ride for a 6-year-old. Especially in the beginning where you see all the bones and the one guy's driving the thing and there's lightning. And then, like I said, there was that skeleton above that was like, ah, ha, ha. And then you go down the drop. And so my dad told me, he thought he was being funny. When you go down the drop, you're going to go, and he told me from the very beginning, we were in line, you're going to go down this drop and you're going to be in a big room. and there's going to be, two ships shooting at each other. And if you don't duck, they're going to come up and take you. Like, this is what he told my little 6-year-old self. And of course, I believed my dad for everything.
Because you trusted him in all life?
Yes, I trusted him. He would never steer me wrong. So, and I still remember this. This is one of my first memories. I remember going down that drop being fucking terrified. Because again, pirates everywhere, skeletons, like, dead men tell no tales. And we go down, and I drop to the floor. I'm down. And my dad's looking for me, and he can't see me because it's a dark ride. But he was going to kidnap me. And so then he laughs, and then he apologized and, said, I was just messing with you. But ever since then has been my favorite ride. Because I have, such great memories of it. But, of course, being a redhead, one of my favorite parts of the ride is We Once the Redheads. Because it's a redhead, and it's like, yeah, because we're pretty cool.
So you don't like the change that they're making?
I do not. I understand their reasoning for it, wanting to be politically correct, but I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day you think I'm a Disney person. He's a huge Disney person. And he was saying the whole point of the ride is it's a timepiece. It's telling
That's true.
about the time that it was in, and that's very historically correct. That's what happened. So by changing it, yes, you're trying to be more politically correct, but now you're changing the story of the time. You're changing what that ride was about.
Although one could argue that it's not necessarily, it's a historical piece, but it's not really based on any one true event. It's just a summary of what happened back then. But I could definitely see why the purists are upset about it, because the original ride is being changed. And me, as a huge Haunted Mansion fan, when they made those updates, like some of those things, some of those changes, I wasn't happy with. But if you've gone to Disney for so long, you know that they are going to update the rides. They are going to change the things. And it was only a matter of time before they made more changes for pirates. Next thing you know, they're probably going to get rid of the drunken pirates next. Like, they'll probably have them not holding alcohol or something, because they're clearly wasted off their ass. and it's kids are seeing grown animatronic men just shit-faced.
They even sit there and they go, in the same scene where they're selling, the women, they go, I'll give you three bottles of rum. And then they all laugh, and then they shoot a gun, and then it goes, pink. Like, it's not a kid's ride anymore. But it was great. I loved it as a kid. And, those weren't the things that I remember. I didn't remember the drunken guys. I remember ducking because the pirates were going to come get me. And the whole time I was like, oh, man, they're just destroying this town. This is crazy. And then it ended, and it was cool. That's what you remember as a kid. But everybody's oversensitive. I don't know. I say this like we're not going to be parents soon and also be oversensitive about bullshit. But
everyone's oversensitive about something.
Of course,
we can agree to that.
So I am sad to see it go. I am sad for myself because I am a redhead, and that was my favorite part. I was very flattered that all the pirates wanted the redhead.
Well, now that redhead's going to be an empowered pirate, Kelly.
I could be empowered too, but. Are they still going to say we wants the redheads?
Probably not.
Because that's on, like, merchandise and stuff.
They're probably going to take that out. Why would they? It makes no sense with the scene that they have right now to leave that in.
They're going to have to find some way to put it in, because that's on, like, tons of merchandise. Or else we need to buy that merchandise, because it's going to be worth a lot more.
They're going to replace it with the redhead pirate merchandise.
She's still wearing the same outfit in the concepts.
But she's got a hat now, and a gun.
She still has a hat.
She's got a gun.
Okay. That'll be the next thing to go to.
And yeah, in 70 years, I'll take away all the guns from the ride. There you go.
They'll have, like, clubs or something.
The famous clubbing pirates. Who did not sell women, who did not get drunk.
And then it just became a nightclub.
And still took over.
They took over the town with dance.
Actually, I would be for that. I would love that so much. So huge thanks again to Nicholas on Instagram, who is a recent broquette too. So welcome to the show, Nicholas. And with that, before we jump into the news, as we mentioned earlier, we do have our hashtag games for the week.
We have a whole bunch of hashtag games this week, and unsurprising, Daniel did not tell me about any of them, so I could not prepare, and I have none to offer you.
This will show how good of a member of Whose Lines It Anyway you would have been if you went that route. So you gotta think, you got some time now. We're actually gonna go through them first, and in that period, let's see if you can come up with our first hashtag, which is hashtag less noteworthy movies. My entry for this one, Kelly, was Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo shrugs back.
He's just like, all right.
I'm super strong, bitches. I'm going to make these clones. And that's the end. Like, there's no fight here.
We also have one from Matt from the Super Side Up podcast who says, Lord of the Rings, the sizing of the rings.
Yet another example of an improvement as well on the original source material.
And our final one comes from Alex B on Facebook, who says, Harry Potter and the week not much happened.
Just another week in the closet, underneath the stairs.
Just being hated by his family. I guess you could do James and the normal peach.
Just a standard peach.
Just a standard peach.
James and the standard peach.
Or James and the moldy peach. That's kind of gross, too.
We've got more also. The next hashtag game was hashtag describe a movie's plot in 5 words.
You said no one believes Patrick Bateman.
That's all American Psycho is. He goes around killing a bunch of people, and no one believes him because they're all so wrapped up in their own world and in their own appearance and appearing successful and not really working, which is the whole message of the whole movie that you see with all these other characters. And that's when Patrick Bateman's like, I am truly lost in this fucking world of illusion that no one really cares. And that's all it is. Like, no one believes him at the end.
We also have one from @ubernerd527 on Twitter, who says, apes are the dominant species.
And he also submitted a few. The other one I picked out was animated Hamlet, but with lions.
Lion King.
Matt from the Super Side Up podcast said, little gold rings are dangerous.
And Mike from Facebook said, find Bill and kill him.
Finally, Riggs, who has been on the show before, the goddamn Mr. Riggs, said, Irish brothers kill bad people.
Which movie is that?
Boondock Saints.
I've never seen that movie.
I saw that for the first time 2 years ago when I went up to visit Riggs. It's not bad. It's got the guy from The Walking Dead that everyone likes, Norman Reedus, I believe is his name. Every convention in all of time, well, in the past 5 years, has Norman Reedus as like the main head of the, like, buy fucking tickets, get your Norman Reedus pictures. I think even MegaCon was scheduled to have him or one of the members of The Walking Dead, and that's how they sell tickets, is they have any cast members from The Walking Dead, you are good to go. You've got tickets sold for days, and Norman Reedus is the big one for a lot of fans, and one of the favorite characters as well on The Walking Dead. I don't believe he's in the comics, but there was this April Fool's thing a few years back where they said his character's going to appear for the first time in Walking Dead number, blah, blah, blah. And it was a joke, but I had a lot of people coming into the shop saying, hey, can I reserve issue one? I don't remember what it was, like 150 of The Walking Dead. And we knew ahead of time, we're like, he's actually not going to appear in that. Just a heads up. It's not going to be what you think it is.
Oh, yeah. We'll let you pre-order that. And then you sell all these copies and they're like, hey, you pre-ordered it.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later, I'm going to have to... Actually, no, that would have worked out because I was thinking 2 weeks later, I'm going to have to deal with returns of people going, he's not in this, but those speculators and collectors are not reading the issues anyway. They're just bagging and boarding it and throwing it up on eBay.
And can they really return it anyway?
Not really. Like, every comic shop is different, and there are circumstances, of course, but it's a lot harder to return a brand new comic because of the fact that someone could have just read it and then tried to return it. Kind of like that GameStop policy of return it within 7 days and get your money back. And when I worked there, I had all those people that were coming in every week, beating the game, and then returning it within 7 days because they didn't have school, didn't have work.
A blockbuster.
And that's all they could do. They can just beat and get the achievements and not pay a thing. They started cracking down on that in the last couple of years, but those were our hashtag game responses for the week. Huge thanks to everyone that participated. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke and on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke, @PalpaKelly to participate in the weekly hashtag games.
Right before we jump into our news, we have issued a challenge to all of our brokettes to come up with a Star Wars name for our child. So as we mentioned in the beginning, I am Emperor Palpatelli. Daniel is Darth Vader Daniel. And we have little Leo on the way who needed a name, and Daniel and I really don't watch Star Wars.
Well, you've got to give the Palp approval for these names. And at Super Side Up suggested Darth Maul Leo.
Not bad, but you would have to pronounce it as Darth Maulio.
Darth Maulio, then.
He would have to be Darth Maulio.
Maybe that's what he meant. Darth Maulio.
It's on the list. It can be on the list.
And Katie suggested Leo Organa.
Who's Organa?
Leia Organa.
Oh, but she's not evil.
Oh, it does have to be someone evil, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I guess so far the front runner is Darth Maulio. Is that what it was? How do you pronounce it?
Darth Maulio. Because it's like Darth Maul and then Leo. Darth Maulio.
We'll see how it goes. Let's see how it sits for the week.
All right.
See if you like it.
We're gonna let it. I mean, he's still got 4 months of cooking. So
the one thing you said is it'd be 2 Darths then. Darth Ray Daniel, Darth Maulio.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad thing. I mean, we're related. Might as well share some form of the title.
I still appreciate that I'm the emperor though, so I'm still rule over both of you.
Yeah, and I don't think Leo and I are not gonna argue that at all.
Oh no. You two are just going to listen to Mom. Because as we discovered this week, I'm right about everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. I want to give you a formal apology.
Thank you.
It is, in fact, going down the rabbit trail and not the rabbit hole, as you proved on Twitter.
With Urban Dictionary.
And
Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
That's right.
Yes, both of them.
Like, I saw the evidence, you presented it, and I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Along with my coworker, Ricky, who said, I think it's down the rabbit hole. I think you're right. I'm like, yeah, I think so too. And now we're like, shit, I've been using it wrong all these years. It's not, unless it's like an issue, unless it's like a problem, a can of worms, then from the definition you pulled up, then it's going down the rabbit hole. But if it's you going off on a different tangent, then it's the rabbit trail. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I apologize. You were completely right yet again.
When will you learn that I am right about everything all the time forever? There are very few things that I'm wrong about in life. And I don't see why you don't understand this at this point.
And we don't have a lot of news this week, so we will be going on tons of rabbit trails.
Thank you.
To try to...
The other analogy I saw to go with that, to help you remember it, is like when a dog is chasing a rabbit going off on the rabbit trail, they're very like, do-do-do-do-do, all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense.
Rabbit trail all over the place. Oh,
and
you guys.
With that, we can jump into our news for the week.
So as we mentioned at the very beginning, Wizard World has dropped its 2017 conventions in several places. First was Albuquerque, New Mexico. This was supposed to be July 14th through the 16th. And Orlando, Florida, August 11th through the 13th, without any given reason.
I had already requested off a couple of those days for the Orlando show, and I even tried to get us press passes. I applied, and now it's like, well, we're not getting those for sure.
No. They saw we applied, and they're like, oh, our convention isn't good enough for them. We got to cancel it.
Without a given reason, I think the reason is that they did not sell enough tickets ahead of time. And you can't really announce that on the press release because it makes the rest of your shows look shitty. So instead it just said, hey, we're canceling these shows. However, in 2018, we have way more shows than ever before. So the press release followed with the expectations and expansions for 2018, as they have now scheduled as many as 35 conventions.
That's crazy. You didn't sell any this year. And you're thinking you'll be able to do 35 more next year.
They have to follow up with that, though. Like, if they just canceled them and didn't give any kind of future upswing to their conventions, then it would have been a bad move. So from a PR perspective, this is what you need to do. You have to give people an incentive to go to your shows for the rest of the year and in 2018.
I am upset that we missed this too. I had not requested off yet because I forgot about it. But we could still just take the days off and
visit local comic shops.
Yeah, sure. Do you have celebrities here? No? Okay. We got to go to one of those cheesy Papa John's.
Last year, too, they had canceled the Orlando show, and now we'll never know if this will rival MegaCon as the king of Orlando conventions. It's yet another year we have to wait and see if it happens.
Apparently it doesn't, because MegaCon still happens every year, and Wizard World has to cancel, so there's that.
Do you think it's a marketing issue as far as how they're promoting these shows? I know they've cut down. One of the things I've read is they said, we've cut down on the cost of running the operation of having a convention. And one of the things they cut was police and security.
Oh, no.
Because it is super expensive to have police on hand. But I know that was one of the things that they had announced. These are one of the things we've saved money on. And you don't want to tell people that.
What you do is you offer police, hey, come on your day off and your family can come to the convention for free. That's how you get them there.
That's not bad. The one thing is, how do you do weapons check? Would you allow them to have guns on site if they're off duty?
Yeah,
cops?
if they're off duty. So this is something that local theme parks do. The police can come and work on their 6th day, and I think they get compensated with tickets. And so they're in full costume, you know, full outfit with all their weapons and everything, just working on their day off, and then they get compensated with the tickets.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So and then you could also register them separately and then register the weapons then too. That's a really good idea. Why don't they do that?
I don't know. Why am I so smart? Why am I always right? Mysteries of the world. Why don't you ever believe me? Things we'll never know. We should have a segment. Things we'll never know.
So we'll see if they actually go through with the Orlando plan next year. So now that's 2 years. We'll have to wait to see if we can go to a second Orlando show here in Florida.
This year might have been hard for me to go to anyway because I will be super fat by then.
Are you going to go see Justice League? We still don't know if you're going to go see that.
I should be able to see it. When does it come out?
Mid-November, like November 14th or something.
I will have given birth 2 weeks prior.
Theoretically, like who knows? If Leo is late, as we think he is going to be.
That's him being 2 weeks late.
Okay.
Is me giving.
All right.
So I might have given birth a month prior. And if it's a month prior, then yeah, I can probably waddle in there.
Cool. Just let me know, because I'll be going one way or another. Right. I already requested off, so.
You know you can't tell me about it, though, until
I won't tell you anything about it.
Okay. You're terrible.
But I'm still going. I'm just letting you know.
You're horrible. Why don't we bring Leo to the theater?
Hell no, we're not going to bring no baby to...
2-week-old Leo. 1-month-old Leo.
What a terrible idea. At what age are we going to finally bring him to like a kid's movie? 5 maybe? At the highest?
Maybe 4.
That's too young.
He could go at 4.
If he can go to a theme park, he can go to a movie. How about that?
All right, fine. That's fine.
It's a pretty good rule.
I went to see Toy Story and I was real little.
How little were you?
What year did Toy Story come out?
96, I believe.
All right, I was 6.
Yes.
That's the first movie I remember going to. But probably, we'll see how mature he is for his age.
He'll be super mature. Yeah, he's going to come out with a beard. He's going to have a beard when he...
Just because he's already been through puberty in my womb doesn't mean that he's mature.
He's my son, Kelly. He's my son.
I know. He'll be a very serious baby.
A very serious, hairy baby.
Yes.
So we had talked about the future of the Rocky franchise. In spite of Sylvester Stallone saying that he will not return, he has started to drop hints on what may be the plot to Creed 2.
Through Stallone's official Instagram account, he said, "Directing Apollo and Drago, the 2 best cinema boxers that ever lived. Maybe it's time to try again?"
That's super interesting. Apollo and Drago, it's to bring that up again. People are theorizing that it's either going to be Drago's child, Drago's son, or old man Drago fighting in the ring again, just like Rocky did in Balboa. Either way, it's going to play on the emotional aspect of this is either the man who killed your dad and you're fighting him in the ring, or the son of the man who killed your dad and you're fighting him in the ring. Like either way, there is going to be a lot of emotional baggage to Creed, and there's still so much you can do with that character, and this is where he naturally is exploring, because how else can you settle the fact that, one, Rocky did not throw in the towel when Creed was getting killed in the ring, and that we saw some of that in the first movie where he pretty much told Rocky, "You killed my dad," and then in 2, you confront the man who did kill your dad. You could either do what Stallone wanted to do in Balboa and have Drago hooked up to machines from all of the morphine addiction and the steroid use that he had in Rocky 4 and have him just be a broken man. But unfortunately, the actor did not want to come back for the franchise. But now, maybe they can film that scene and talk about the upbringing that he may have had after the loss to Rocky. And there's definitely a ton you can explore. And then the guilt that Rocky would feel in confronting Drago again and seeing him again. And yeah, there's so much you can do with this second plot.
You could have him having flashbacks where Apollo's fighting in the ring and then he's getting killed too, and he's flashbacks and not throwing in the towel. And then Apollo's like, "Don't throw in the towel," but then he's going to die too.
I still remember that in Rocky 4 where the Apollo tells him, whatever you do, don't throw the towel. And Rocky's like, all right. And then he's getting killed in the ring. He's getting murdered. And the trainer's like, "Throw the towel!" towel! Throw the damn towel! And Rocky's just sitting there like, oh no, he told me not to. And he holds it, and he drops it in disbelief at the same time as Apollo is falling, and he has a seizure and dies. And this is like, there was never any fallout to it until the first Creed movie. All that happened in Rocky IV, he's like, I'm going to go fight him myself. And Adrian's like, no, you're going to die too. You're also going to die in that ring. Right. And there's going to be 2 dead boxers. And instead he gets his revenge and wins against Drago. In the 5th movie, you find out he has brain damage from that fight with Drago. And then in Balboa, he just healed all that brain damage magically so that he can fight again. So there was never that, once again, that consequence to him never throwing the towel. And you finally saw that in Creed, which is awesome. So I'm really excited. I know Coogler is not going to return to direct it because he already has a ton of projects lined up for it. But if Sylvester can get back, he directs. Like, he can be a director and he does it well. So why not? Why don't you direct Creed 2 as well while you're at it?
While there aren't many hints that Creed 2 will move into production soon, the film is still listed for a 2018 release.
Overall, did you like the first Creed?
I did. I enjoyed it. Did I cry? I don't remember crying.
Yeah, I don't think you cried.
That's how I know how much I enjoy a movie, if I cried. But I did enjoy it. I liked seeing... And again, I still haven't seen the first Rocky. Oops.
Yeah, right when I was going to show you, they took it off of Hulu, all 5 movies.
Yep. So still haven't seen that. But I know enough about the story. You got drunk one night and told me about all 6 movies twice. You told me about each one twice. So I knew enough about it, and it seems like it was a good addition to that franchise.
I turn into like Professor Daniel every time I get drunk.
Yes. And I just go, yes, honey.
That's my go-to. Also, the Sinestro story in Green Lantern and Jeff Johns in that final issue. That's always my go-to for some reason. And Dr. Manhattan recently with the button.
Boy.
Professor Daniel.
Drunk Professor Daniel. It's very funny. I appreciate it sometimes.
Last couple of news items. According to Forbes, Warner Brothers' Wonder Woman has now hit an estimated $707.9 million worldwide after its 5th week of release.
That's amazing. So to put this in comparison, Suicide Squad hit $746 million, and Batman v Superman was $868 million.
Wonder Woman is still set to release in Japan on August 25th. Will it surpass Suicide Squad?
It will. I think it will. It only has to make another 46 mil.
Absolutely. And then with a couple of markets still not having released in those, and you will definitely make up that, 35 million that you have to surpass that. Will it hit BVS?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't think it'll hit BVS. It'll come close. I think it might get to the 8 mark.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think it'll hit BVS. However, the one thing I will say, and if you cut off marketing as far as like toys and merchandise, if you just look at the box office returns compared to the production budget, I think Wonder Woman has been more profitable for Warner Brothers than Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman. Those 2 movies were way more expensive to produce than Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is almost reaching their numbers in worldwide box office. So overall, the cost and the actual income of it is amazing, and it's huge, and it's extremely profitable for Warner Brothers. So even if it is not making its money in ice cream deals and toys, which it is, as we've seen before, they marketed the hell out of it. It is making it in the production costs and the production earnings of box office earnings of Wonder Woman and its full run. They are going to keep this in theaters for a while, as well as it's doing, especially its week-to-week drop-off has been so low compared to the other superhero movies in the past. So yeah, I can definitely see it easily surpassing Suicide. But even if it doesn't hit BVS, it's still a huge success story for Wonder Woman.
I still need to make it to the theaters to see it again. I've only seen it twice.
And you still haven't taken your mom?
I know. She still hasn't seen it. She's going to love this movie.
Gotta take her.
With what time? What time do I have to just
tomorrow you're off?
Go to movies. I'm baby shopping tomorrow.
The day after you're off?
I got to buy things for little Leo.
You got to nest?
I have to nest, yes. Like I said, we're like 4 months out, 3.5 months. I got to put things together.
It's going to come up super quick.
I'm going to be like our dog, hiding things and making up my little bed by scratching at it and making no difference.
Final bit of news here. We've got the back and forth between Sony and Marvel And we had covered the story before, but there is more to it.
After Sony producer Amy Pascal had placed Venom and the rest of the spin-off movies in the same universe as the MCU, Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige said the following.
Quote, right now, Spidey is in the MCU, and it's just Spidey, end quote.
Oh, we didn't say that. We didn't say that. It's just Spidey. Just Spidey in the MCU.
Well, that's Kevin Feige saying for her, like, that's not what whatever she said is wrong.
Right.
It's actually just Spider-Man in the MCU.
So soon after, Pascal returned with the following in response.
Quote, first, there's Spider-Man happily in the place where he's supposed to be, which is in the Marvel Universe. I think everything comes from that. This is the signpost, the tentpole, the signature. The other movies that Sony is going to make in their relationship to this MCU Spider-Man take place in the separate Sony world, although you're not going to see them in the Marvel Universe, it's in the same reality, end quote.
And then Feige then responded back with, quote, somewhere in the same reality, but you're not going to see them, end quote.
So no clarification at all.
Nope.
Like, to be honest, what we theorized before of it's still in the same universe, but you can have Spider-Man, like that was the deal. Spider-Man can show up in Venom, in Black Cat, in Silver Sable, but you're not going to see them show up in the Avengers, for example. You're not going to see Venom show up in the Avengers.
Right.
You're not going to see Black Cat in, a Doctor Strange movie for some reason. Those characters are not going to cross over into that. And also as long as Disney is making the Spider-Man solo films, those villains and those characters are not going to show up in the Spider-Man solo. They're going to use their own established villains and then go from there. So it still stands that it is still in the same universe, but it might as well not be because they're not, aside from just Spidey, they're not going to cross over back and forth.
Right.
It's only going to be Spider-Man that's going to be transitioning from each universe back and...
But Spider-Man's all you need.
That really is all you need. Like, for Sony to legitimize these movies, to have Tom Holland, Spider-Man, show up in these, and even if it's just for a brief cameo, that legitimizes it in a lot of people's minds. And in audiences, like Joe Schmo doesn't know the difference between Disney and Sony and 20th Century Fox. They just see the Marvel logo and they assume it's all in the same thing.
I want Joe Schmo to Twitter you and be like, I do know the difference, asshole. Like, there's really a Joe Schmo of it. It'd be great.
But aside from that, it's going to be kind of like the Netflix Marvel series where you have Daredevil, you have Jennifer Jones, you have the Iron Fist, and they still haven't appeared, although they're in the same universe and they drop hints at the main movies.
Right.
They haven't appeared in the cinematic universe. And I know, from what I understand, they may show up in Infinity War, but up until this point, this is essentially how the Sony spin-off movies are going to be. They're going to be like how Marvel treats the Netflix and to some extent the ABC shows. They're going to be in the same universe, and I'm sure you may see some hints or some Easter eggs to the MCU, either through Spidey alone or maybe some newspaper clip somewhere, out of whatever it is. But it won't be a full crossover as people sort of expected with what Amy said.
I don't expect that from what she said, though. I think what they're doing is smart, and it's the right direction to move with this, because if you start mixing everybody, it's going to get very, very cluttered.
The thing is, things are already mixing now, but it would have to be under Disney's regulation. It would be under Disney saying, well, if you're gonna put Venom in our MCU movies, then he can't go around cracking heads open and eating brains.
Right. But again, you start mixing them all. You have a Venom movie. Let's throw Iron Man in there. Let's throw Hulk in there.
Oh, I gotcha.
They've already shown they have a difficult enough time with that many characters and making it interesting in a movie and something we can follow easily. Can you imagine if now all the Avengers have to be in this movie and all so-and-so has to be in this movie and Doctor Strange has to show up because he's there?
They did pack a lot in Civil War, didn't they?
They packed a lot in everything.
We like Civil War. But they definitely threw in a ton of characters, but Aquaman has 2 or 3 villains, and the internet goes on fire and says, "Oh, they're putting too many villains, too many characters in there." Guys, look at this fucking other shit over here. No one's saying anything, and not all of it worked. And again, we like the movie, but not all of it was essential.
Age of Ultron, there were a fucking billion people in there.
Yeah, and from the beginning, we said that was not a good movie.
No. And it was. there was too much, and then you had Hulk and Black Widow. I always bring that up, by the way. When I argue with people about this movie, I always say, oh, so what was going on with Hulk and Black Widow? Oh, well, they were together. Oh, okay, since when? When did they ever mention any of that? Oh, well, exactly.
It's getting even better. Scarlett Johansson recently came out and said that relationship is not going to be addressed anymore in the future movies. Now that Joe Whedon is gone, because that was his idea. Now they're like, yeah, that's never going to happen again. We're going to distance ourselves as much as possible from that monster comparison that people did with Joe Whedon and Black Widow and the Hulk. So now you can say, oh, where'd that go? What happened with that? They never resolved it.
Yeah, right? They started it, and then it was just gone.
More ammo for you to have fun with.
Oh, and I have so much fun.
Aside from that, I mean, it's still, nothing has changed, basically. It's still, yes, it's in the same universe, and even Feige said it's the same reality. He doesn't want to say universe because that's what the MCU... That's one of the words in that. If you associate it with that, people are immediately gonna assume that there's going to be back and forth crossovers. But instead, he said, "Yeah, it's in the same reality, but those characters aren't going to show up in our universe until we approve it and until we get a cut of something." It's a whole legality thing. If you start seeing Black Sable pop up in these other Disney movies, so for now, it's together but separate. If that makes any sense.
Like Hulk and Black Widow.
There you go. Perfect analogy, perfect symbolism.
So as we mentioned in the beginning, it's a very, very small news week, as some weeks are. So I'm going to lead us down a rabbit trail.
The rabbit trail of gaming.
The rabbit trail of gaming. So you've made some progress today, finally worked on the story for Mass Effect.
Yeah, you've been working late nights.
Yes.
Which gives me time to actually get some gaming in when I'm not editing podcasts or finding news stories for them. And yeah, I've done all of the allies and relationships, missions, and Andromeda that I can do for now. Because you get to a certain point and then they say, on hold, wait for them to contact you again. So you got to do some other missions. And I finished all those. And now it's like, well, I guess I can do the next story mission in this, which is like the 4th or 5th. And you can tell that I'm not even close to the ending because we're still figuring out things from the villain, like how can we infiltrate the base and prove to the rest of the initiative that he is evil and we've got to pull out an all-out attack. And it's just like we're diving into the main part of the story. We haven't gotten to the down point yet, which there will be. I'm sure there is. And instead, it feels great I may actually start what was it, Kingdom of Hearts 2.8 that came out on the PS4?
I don't know what that game is.
You know what I'm referring to.
I don't. I've never heard of that game.
I may play Dream Drop Distance before Leo actually comes out. I may start it before Leo... Did I say comes out?
You did
it's not wrong.
I mean, it's not wrong, but before he arrives. That sounds nicer and less terrifying because I'm not... My dad tried to get me to watch a birth video the other day, and I was like, nah.
It's a bad idea.
I'm okay. And he goes, well, you're going to have to go through it. Yeah, but I don't want to think about it, so... Yeah,
you definitely want to... Anytime you're going to go into any kind of surgery like that, or a traumatic event, because it will be.
A procedure, yes.
You don't want to see the video of what's going to happen to you.
Nope.
My mom got LASIK done, and she saw what it did, like the night before, and she couldn't sleep that night because she's like, "Oh, they're gonna peel open my eyeball," and no, don't do it. Just go in, and whatever happens, happens. It's all gonna be a nice surprise, as you're gonna find out in October, November.
I mean, I've read plenty of articles on what happens to my body, but I don't.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
I block it from my mind. Well, because those articles pop up on Facebook, like 9 things they never told you about being pregnant and giving birth, and I'm like, oh, what things have they never told me? And I was like,
And it's not clickbait?
No, it's all real things because they come from like Mommy Gaga or something like that.
I think I'd have a better idea of reading those because I'm like, oh, none of this is going to happen to me ever in my whole life. Unless it's like a bad anime where I wake up as a woman the next day.
Yes, we switch bodies like right before the birth, and I was like, "Aha, sucker!"
That'd be incredible. Have you been doing any gaming at all lately?
No.
The last thing was Sun and Moon, right?
Yes, I played Sun and Moon, and then I got to that point where I could either fight red or blue, and then I got scared and I closed it, and then it died. So my DS is dead. I have a very sweet friend, one of my best friends, who's also pregnant, which is a lot of fun because we hug and our bellies touch, and I'm like, hee, like silly women things, right? This is what women do. So she crochets. I mean, we both crochet. That's my grandma secret. I'm a grandma, I crochet. So very early on in my pregnancy, right after we found out we were having a boy, she was talking to me and she's like, oh man, I found you the coolest, crochet blanket that I'm making for you. I'm crocheting it for you. And then it's like, oh shit, well now I got to crochet something for you too. So literally all of my free time has been working on a blanket for her because she's due 6 weeks before I am, which is September. And it's already mid-July at this point. So I really have to get a move on because these things take time. It's not a quick thing. It's not cut it out and slap it together and there you go. So I've already spent, I can't even tell you how many hours, and I'm like a fourth of the way done.
You usually do it when we're sitting down, relaxing. There were a time when we can sit down and watch Seinfeld together, which we're on the final season of now.
Yes, finally.
Season 9 of Seinfeld, or The F Word, or Master Chef, or Master Chef Junior, whenever that comes back, or Hell's Kitchen. I'm pretty sure you were crocheting that shit when Hell's Kitchen was still on the previous season.
Probably. The good thing is it is very relaxing for me, so I've been taking it to work lately too, because we've just been slammed and it's crazy busy, and hormones make me very frustrated with people, and I have to learn to calm down and be nice. So on my break time, I'll sit there, I'll eat for a little bit, and then I'll crochet a little bit and then eat, because it's very relaxing. It's almost mind-numbing, I guess, is a way to put that, because you're just counting and doing the same motion over and over. So I used to do it when I first got one of my promotions many years ago, and I was so stressed, I'd just sit there at work and go do, and this is the only way I could survive. So I've been bringing it to work.
Do you think it'll actually be done before November?
September? Oh, God, I hope so. It's going to have to be, because she's having this baby one way or another.
So we got to finish Seinfeld then.
Yes.
And then find a new show to binge watch. Maybe we can get back on Cheers.
Yeah, we never finished Cheers, did we? I kind of lost interest in Cheers.
I did too. Like, it was good. Like, the first 3 seasons were incredibly solid. And now it's getting, like, now we've...
Frasier showed up.
Which I like Frasier, but it's not enough to, like, the new season, the changes in there, it doesn't have me hooked. Like, they're not drinking as much as the first couple of seasons.
They need to drink more.
Like, those are funnier storylines. When someone would get drunk, or alcohol was an issue, or instead it's about, like, relationships. And I'm like, all right, I've had enough of this.
We're done now. But going back to the games.
Yeah, back to the other rabbit trail.
Back to the other rabbit trail.
Because there are several. One Ace went down, and the other, the rabbit is down.
Yeah, there we go, because Ace wouldn't find the rabbit. And if she did, she'd be scared of the rabbit. So.
She'd find it, and she'd bark at it from a 10-foot radius.
Yes. And then it would move towards her, and she would run away. One game you haven't started, and it's still sitting on our kitchen counter, is Fire Emblem, the new one.
What, Heroes? Yes, Fire Emblem Heroes, I think is what it's called.
Something. You need to get on that.
I need to start that, and that's another thing, though, Kelly, is maybe I can start the handheld version, but any gaming time I have, I'm putting it straight into Andromeda. Like, even Sonic Mania is about to come out, which we covered a few episodes back, in which they're remaking the old Sonic games and then adding new things to them. So I'm incredibly excited about that. Swordfish and I were talking about it on Twitter the other day, and that's pre-ordered. I'm going to have it day one downloaded on the PS4, but I probably won't touch it for several months after release, because again, it's an age thing. When I was younger, I could play 2 or 3 different video games at once. I can have a handheld one, and then I can have my GameCube game that I'm working on. But these days, if I start playing, like, the Fire Emblem game on my DS, I'll play that for several weeks and probably get 2 hours in, because that's how much time I have. And then when I get back to Andromeda, I'll be like, where the fuck was I? What was I doing? So I have to do one thing at a time at the age of... as I get older, I'm forgetting, and on purpose. 28, right? I'm 28 now?
No, you just
I'm
had
29.
A birthday.
At the age of 29, I can only play one thing at a time.
You need to remember your birthday.
I don't remember my age. I remember my birthday. I don't remember my age. And I don't know if... When I ask adults when I used to work at GameStop, like, okay, what's your birthday? And they would never want to tell me, or they would be real hesitant, or they'd give me a fake one. Like, they'd be like, 1970, January 1st, 1970. And now I'm like, maybe they also forgot.
We're just all forgetting. It's okay. I forgot how old I was going to be, too. Because my birthday's this month. And then I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to be old.
People over 45, Brokettes over 45, do you just no longer keep counts after 45? Is it more convenient? Is it better?
Just to forget.
Should I start now? Should I just stop for knowing how old I am?
You're still not that old. You have time.
I'm about to hit 30, which I guess is when, like, one of the things that you had pointed out and about aging is I was like, I still can't lose these fucking 10 pounds. And I know I gained a lot of it from my Chicago trip because we just ate out every single night and every single day. No one cooked anything. And I'm like, normally I can just, like, I'm doing yard work and that gets me sweating like crazy. And if I were to run a mile like 2 years ago, it's like, whoop, everything evaporated. Like all the 10 pounds went away. And I'm like, I'm just maintaining it. And I've cut down all my sugars. So I'm no longer taking like a dessert, like a little candy thing at work. I'm no longer buying like the little crunch bars. I guess they're like nut and chocolate bars, the chewy bars. I no longer get those at work. I just have my banana and my steamed veggies. And since I already don't put salt on things, it's not an issue. I'm like, yep, I just put this very simple hot sauce, which all the ingredients are water and chili peppers from Cholula. And it's like
vinegar.
And vinegar, and there's no sugar in those. Like, if you have to talk about sugar, like the hot sauce packets, those have sugar in them. So I've now cut those from my diet. And I'm still like, God damn it. Like, I've lost maybe a pound. So that's a part of aging that it's like, am I now hitting that period where, like, if I go on a diet, I'll just maintain weight and not lose it?
Welcome to the last 3 years of my life. Okay, I've told you many times, men get better with age. You hit 30, and you keep looking better. 2 years ago, that was as good as I'll ever look. I hope you enjoyed it.
I look 10 pounds heavier. That's not better. As Patrick Bateman said, you can always be thinner, you can always look better. And it's a terrible line. It's a terrible philosophy. But he said it. And
there's a large movement for women right now about loving your body the way it is. So there you go.
Is that what dad bod is?
Yes.
But I'm not a dad yet. Like
You're a puppy dad.
I'm a puppy dad.
And you're a fetus dad.
But I don't know if I qualify as a dad bod until Leo comes out. And then until he releases. Until he launches.
Stop.
Until he arrives.
No,
How about that?
Okay. Yeah. So as soon as he arrives, your body's just like dad bod. Instantly transforms.
Dad bod. Just floppier chest, bigger tummy, but strong arms. Because that's what the dad bod is.
You gotta
carry the baby
all the time. Yeah, I'm waiting for my strong arms when I'm picking up this baby.
Maybe, I wonder if Gal Gadot is, now that she has a baby, maybe she's got the muscle on the arms to, like for Wonder Woman 2, she'll be even more muscle.
She already had a baby. This is her second baby.
Oh, well, maybe, do women gain, like, arm muscle?
Yes, because you're picking up a 10-pound baby over and over. And then they like to be bounced, and then you gotta go, and bounce them. And listen, after Leo's born, we can start going on runs again. I did try to run the other night, and no.
What happened?
It was a terrible experience. I felt like a whale or some large mammal.
I need to know, what's it like to try to run with a half-developed human in you?
Terrible.
Is it just heavier? What is it like?
It is much heavier, but then he's also pushing on my lungs. So even I can't walk quickly. Mm-hmm. And you've experienced this. I have to tell you to slow down when we go out places because he's pushing on my lungs. So I get out of breath very quickly. So that 30 feet that I ran to try and catch the bus to go home was agonizing. And then I got on the bus and I thought I was dying and I instantly got a headache and he jumps on my bladder because he's 2 pounds now, but the stomach around him weighs 7 pounds or something crazy. So that's 7 pounds on my bladder, on my hips. Extra weight that I didn't have before.
What did the bus driver say? This was my favorite part. Like the line of the bus driver as you were trying to run and catch up to him.
I don't even remember what he said.
He said, I would have waited for you. I was just joking.
Oh, yeah. So he saw me walking up, right? And the doors were closing. And so I ran and I'm screaming at him like, wait. And then he closes the door all the way. And then he opens it up. He's like, oh. And he sees me then that I'm pregnant because I have this huge belly. You can't miss it at this point. And I walk. He's like, oh, I would have waited for you. I'm sorry. Ha ha ha. I'm sorry. I'm like, no, this not okay.
I don't think I believe him.
No,
I think he was about to take off.
I don't either.
And then he felt guilty because there's 2 people. There's a person in you.
And he made me run. I found people are very superstitious with pregnant women.
Really? What do you mean?
Yes, I hear all the time. Because we have maintenance who comes to fix my things at work. Mm-hmm. So when they break, I call maintenance. I'm like, this is broken. You need to come fix it. So even when I see maintenance up there, even though I know those specific ones don't fix these things, they can contact the people who do
Sure.
more easily than I can. So when I see them, I'm like, hey, this is broken. I need it fixed. And they're like, well, there's a work order in for it. I'm like, no, I need it fixed now. And they're like, one of them will come up and we got to do it. We got to do it. Because if you don't listen to a pregnant woman, you get a sty in your eye. And they're like, a sty in your eye?
What the hell is a sty? Is that like a wood chip thing, or what the hell is a sty? That's a word I did not grow up with in my Mexican family. A sty.
A sty is when your eye gets swollen. You get a virus in your eye. I had one recently. Remember when my eye was swollen shut?
Yeah.
And it was all that big bump? That's a sty.
Okay.
It's a little virus. But apparently it's a big superstition that if you talk poorly about a pregnant woman or don't listen to her, you get a sty in your eye.
That is the silliest shit I've heard.
But can I tell you, things get fixed so quickly now.
All right, use it while you can.
I call, this is Kelly. Yeah, I need this done. And then like 5 of them come up to fix my things. Thanks, guys.
That's awesome. You have a few months left to enjoy that benefit, because
and I do.
While you are suffering in some ways, you are also benefiting in many ways too. So those things are all going to flip-flop and change come late October, early November.
Except it's going to get worse because you already have to push me out of the bed.
That's true. I do. I literally push you off the bed. Because
I can't sit up. You have to push me up.
And the thing is, I didn't even think I have to push my wife up. I'm just like, oh, I gotta help her, and I just pushed you up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
with my
that.
one arm, really, because I'm like, you're not that heavy even still. So I'm just like, yeah, here you go. You're Kelly, and then a 2-pound baby.
Yep. Boy, it's horrible. It's rough because my stomach muscles don't work. I can't sit up. I used to, because I park next to the lawnmower, so to get out, I used to suck in my stomach and squeeze past it. And now I have to stand on my tippy toes so I'm above the lawnmower. It's because I can't suck in my stomach. It's so difficult.
The final thing, I guess the final rabbit trail before we go into our Patreon shout outs and the comic book highlight, at my shop I ran a League Cup with the help of Bobby and William, and then we flip-flopped, and then Bobby ran a League Cup with the help of William and I. So it was the Pokemon TCG League Cup. For anyone that's not familiar with the term, a League Cup, it is a once every 3-month tournament for Pokemon TCG, for the Pokemon card game. It's kind of taken the place of what used to be regionals or cities. Those have now been downplayed quite a bit because now there's these bigger quarterly tournaments that take place. And of course, I had the bad luck at my shop where the day the tournament took place, the AC went out. I was like, shit, man.
Of course.
Of course it would happen. It was almost a non-surprise. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm running this big tournament. It would happen. So I put out a fan, and of course I had the gamers hovering around it whenever it was in between rounds. It didn't get too bad because the AC was fixed by the end of it. So it could have been much worse. Mm-hmm. And then the tournament at Bobby's shop, it was butter smooth. It was probably the easiest League Cup we'll run out of the entire year, because it is in this period, as he explained, that everyone has their nationals points. And right now, just last week, nationals happened. So everyone that was going to go to that already has their points and they're in. Anyone earning points for this League Cup that just passed, it doesn't matter because rotation's about to go through this in this month or the next couple of months, where you're going to start getting all of the points are reset. Everyone starts at 0 again. And you have to re-qualify for those regionals and the nationals and worlds. So in this case, it was all of the sharks and all of the players that you normally see wiping out everyone else in these tournaments did not show up. Because either they were already at nationals or they weren't going to qualify anyway. So most of the time, they won't show up to have fun and to play and just to compete. Whereas everyone that did show up to this one, they were the players. I had no issues with anyone at either tournament. At both tournaments, it was none of these players I've had, there's not a history of, I recognize this guy. There's never been issues at all. Both tournaments went well because of that, and I think they're the most fun. I noticed that a lot of the players were joking around more in between during the games even, oh yeah, I would have done that too, and they're laughing. And even in the final rounds, I overheard one of the players, because I was judging the games, and I have to watch and make sure they're all doing legal moves and all that. And I'm just the watcher, right? But you hear him say, they're guessing each other's strategy during the game, which you don't see. Normally, like, the sharks are pressuring each other to go quicker. And instead he says, oh, so how many of those do you have in your deck? Oh, I've got 2. Really? Yeah, I'll tell you after the match why I put 2. And sure enough, like, after the game is done and they're going to the finals, he tells his opponent who lost, like, here, this is how my deck works. And you don't see that shit. Like, it's pretty amazing. So that was one of the fun things that happened this month, or last month, I should say, were the League Cups and just watching legitimate sportsmanship. So, yeah, it's a sport, right? We determined that last week.
Yes, we did.
So, just sportsmanship at the highest level where I'm just like, all right, guys, this is how it should be. This is how it should be every single time. So, it was a positive experience for me and for all the players, and it was a great time. So, huge thanks to Bobby and Will for helping out with our League Cup, and then huge thanks to Bobby as well for inviting me to help judge at his event. And it was a good time.
You know how you stop the unsportsmanship at those kind of things?
Take away their decks? I don't know what you're going to say. What's Emperor Palpatelli? How does she solve this issue?
You just have to play one song.
All right. What song is that?
Brother, my brother. And then we can all cry because Pikachu died.
Another good one.
Or no, Ash died. Somebody died.
Ash died. What about the sad one of Pikachu's Goodbye? What if you just start playing that episode?
But that's not about unsportsmanship.
Yeah, I guess so.
That song is about unsportsmanship because it's saying we're all brothers, but we're fighting.
The one thing, though, I will say is every time Pikachu's Goodbye comes up on Netflix during Pokemon League, everyone gets sad. They're like, can you change this? It's a really sad episode.
Yeah.
It's always someone over 20.
It is.
I'm like, I think you're going to cry if I play this.
I did cry. I don't know if I've ever told that story on the podcast. I remember watching that episode as a kid and crying. And then my dad didn't know what Pokemans was. So he comes in and he's like, What's wrong with Pokemans? Why are you so sad?
Did he refer to Pikachu as the Pokemans?
No,
he
does know
amazing.
Pikachu, but they're Pokemon to my dad. And then years later, I started watching Pokemon again, and that episode with Bulbasaur came on where you think Bulbasaur dies.
Yeah.
And I cried again too, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm in my 20s. What is this?
I saw that episode with Bulbasaur dying. And that was the period where I wasn't watching the anime, and you told me about this. I'm like, when the fuck did they kill off Bulbasaur? And I saw it on YouTube. I didn't cry, but I was like, holy shit, man, they almost killed Bulbasaur.
Mm-hmm. It was so sad.
And I never would have guessed that they would have gone after that Pokemon, because people care way more about Charizard or Squirtle than they do Bulbasaur. So.
But Bulbasaur cares about the people.
Still waiting for that fucking Bulbasaur Build-A-Bear. When the hell is that going to happen?
You wouldn't really buy it.
I would buy the fucking Bulbasaur. Unlike you, who was like, I will buy the Pikachu one, like a year and a half ago when we talked about that news. I'm like, I don't care how goofy that fucking Bulbasaur looks. I will buy the shit out of that Bulbasaur because I want more Bulbasaur things.
I have to save money for a child. I have to purchase things called diapers. I don't have money for Build-A-Bear Pikachus.
That's a Leo's toy, Kelly, that you're buying.
Okay.
That's Leo's toy.
So why don't I wait till he gets older and can go build a Pikachu?
Those won't be around by then.
All
that
right.
deal would have gone away.
Well, then let's go buy one.
All right, we'll buy a Pikachu. I'll buy a Pikachu the day Bulbasaur comes out. How about that?
Okay.
Then you can do your Pikachu one, and I'll do my Bulbasaur one.
All right.
Because until then, we'd just be buying the rags that is the Pikachu Build-A-Bear. We would not be stuffing it, and instead it would be enjoy your Mimikyu Build-A-Bear. Put that on another stuffed toy.
We do need to go buy all the starters in little plushes, though, because Leo's got to choose his starter.
Where do they sell those now?
I don't know.
Like,
we're going to have to find them.
They used to have them at Epcot,
eBay.
Epcot Japan.
Yes.
They probably have them at the Pokemon Center. You
eBay.
can get them for $25 each. Yeah, you can buy the knockoffs on eBay.
He's got to choose. We already have a Pikachu. We already have a Bulbasaur. We just need to get the other two.
We can get Squirtle and Eevee. You're right. Yeah, we can get those too. I'm not going to have a Charmander plush. I don't like Charmander.
We can throw it away after he chooses it.
He can shoot that. It can be a toy for AC. How about
Okay,
that?
there we go.
She can have Charmander.
She'll take it in the yard and he'll get it mildewed.
So more content. How about that? Was enough content for the broadcast?
Yes, that was enough.
That was good?
Rabbit trails.
Did you like the rabbit trails,
Yes.
everyone? Listeners,
I love
let
rabbit
us
trails.
know.
I get to tell you about my life, and I enjoy that.
The whole podcast could just be rabbit trails.
The whole podcast could just be my life.
That's the title of the episode, by the way, Rabbit Trails. It's official. Let's head on over to our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
Our Our first Patreon shout out this week goes out to Bobby, who is at Cuban Slim on Twitter. And our other Patreon shout out goes out to Neil, who is at InMats68.
Also on Twitter. Neil on Instagram actually put up a panel for the latest issue of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, saying that he is enjoying the Guy Gardner Aquilo team up. And yes, we are fucking loving it too. When we were reading it yesterday, we were reading that issue yesterday, and we're like, fuck yes, Guy Gardner and Aquilo, this is the greatest thing ever. And it won't last. I'm sure it's not going to last because it's too wonderful and too amazing.
Arkilo's gonna get hurt like a little girl and be like, how could you do this to me, Guy? And Guy's gonna be like a typical high school boy, and he's gonna be like, you're just overreacting, and then they're gonna break up.
It was amazing, though, that Arkilo took that sniper shot for him, and Guy Gardner, he wasn't upset because he took the shot for, like, that Arkilo got hurt. He got upset because no one should be taking any shots from me. And he didn't get mad at Arkilo either. He was just like, fuck these assholes. And he shot off that huge Green Lantern beam at them. It was incredible. It was amazing. And I have a feeling that even though there's going to be a fallout between the Sinestro Corps and the Green Lantern Corps eventually, I think there's even been solicitations where they're like, oh, there's a divide in it. And you're already seeing the seeds planted with the murder of the Sinestro Corps member by the hands of a Green Lantern member. Who I'm like, God damn it, dude, you fucking ruined everything. Like, I would have told that to him as he's laying on the ground trying to hold that Sinestro ring in there. Like, look at you, you fucking piece of shit. God damn it. I gotta call Batman. Like, he can fix this. I still feel like there's still gonna be a mutual respect between Arkilo and Guy Gardner. Even if they end up fighting again, there's gonna be like that half smile between them, like, yeah, we're both the tough guys here. And this, like, they might be tougher than Kilowog.
I could see it.
Two fucking tanks. And again, Bobby at Cuban Slim gave me the heads up on the Bayonetta amiibo pre-orders. So huge thanks to the amiibo hunter himself, because now Bayonetta is eventually going to make her way to my local Best Buy, where I will pick her up. And it will be the next gap filled in my small amiibo collection. I'm not going to even try to rival the amiibo hunter, but I have 2 spots left, and that's where I'm going to limit myself. And one of them is going to be Bayonetta, and the other one, we shall see. There'll be an amiibo one day that I know I'll have to get. It's probably going to be the Metroid coming out of the glass tube. That's going to be my next one.
Until they release a really cool Star Fox cloud thing.
They're not going to release no shit Star Fox anytime soon.
You say that, but then they will someday, and I'm going to be like, oh, well, you already filled your 2 spaces.
If they want to give me a Star Fox 2 amiibo, I will gladly buy it, but that's about it. So huge thanks to all of our Patreon backers for backing us every single month. Every little bit helps. If you want your shout out each month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke for as little as how much, Kelly? How much does it cost them to get a shout out each month?
$1.
A single dollar a month, you too can get your shout out.
Of course, our podcast will always be free. The absolute best thing you can do for us, we say it every single week, is let your friends know about us. Talk to us on Twitter. Leave us reviews on iTunes. Let us know what you think of the show on Facebook. The reason we do this show is for all of you. So more of that feedback that we get, that just helps us create a better show.
We also want to thank decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier. If you donate at least $5 a month, you get a decal every 3 months, as voted upon by the Patreon backers. So that's another way in which you can also get involved in the Patreon Brocat community, which is also like another thing. Like, that's another thing now. So huge thanks again to all of the listeners out there for all of your support.
And finally, the last bit of podcast we have for you guys this week is our comic book highlight. This week is Mother Russia, number 1 of 3.
As mentioned 2 episodes ago from Alternate Comics, in which we had Peter Simeti on the show, this is written and drawn by Jeff McComsey. And this is, once again, a 3-issue miniseries. How much was this thing? $1.50? $1.50 for this alternate comic that is back in newsprint. Yes, you open that up, beautiful cover, and you open it up and it's newsprint in your hands. And each alternate comic seems to be different, and some of them have like some color in it, and this one is all black and white, which matches the darker tone of this series. And as we mentioned before, it is the story of a Russian sniper during a post-apocalyptic, I guess, zombie overrun Russia. And in the middle of it, there seems to be a young little boy, or I guess he qualifies as a baby, right? He's walking around.
Yeah,
it's a baby boy, a toddler, this young toddler in the middle of all of these zombies, and her saying, well, I might die, but I've got to save this boy, and things go from there. And it's a very artful, very cinematic issue. It's not heavy on story. It's all about the visuals and all about the action. And it is done extremely well. If you like zombie stories, you will see zombies blown up and shot in very many different creative ways. And it is very cool to see.
Definitely. It was a very fun comic to read and look through the pictures, and you're attached right from the beginning. They show one thing that I always like when books and movies do is show the passage of time. So you're there with her in that little tower, waiting all these days, just biding your time until something happens. And of course, this is the moment when something happens, and you get to be on this suspenseful chase of, are they actually going to make it? And new characters show up, and then who are they really? We have to find out next issue.
It almost reminds me a little bit of Shaolin Cowboy, in which you see just panels of action and gruesome horror and bloody, gunshots. And this could almost immediately, you can almost adapt this to a storyboard. Like, okay, let's animate this into a movie. Let's put this up or film it live action.
Right.
And you could just put up the comic pages as the storyboards. Like, this is what we're going to do right here. Like, all the shots are already set up for you. And that's all credit to Jeff.
So this is a bi-monthly book. It means it comes out every other month, not twice a month.
Yeah, that
bi-monthly.
No official, it could go
check
either way.
Urban Dictionary; they'll tell us what it really is. And it is already out of print, which is great for Alterna Comics. But you too can pick up your comics. Just go to alternacomics.com and you can order it right through there.
Alterna also has an Etsy shop, so they should still have physical issues left through their Etsy shop, and they have a link at alternacomics.com. So if you're not able to order it through your local comic book shop, there are still some copies out there. As you mentioned, it is out of print already, but there are still places you can get it. And if you can't find it at your LCS, let us know. We'll get in contact with Peter to try to get you a copy of Mother Russia. And I believe you can still pre-order your copies of issue 2. It might be past the deadline. Try it anyway. If you have a subscription at your shop and you want to read Mother Russia, tell them to add it to your subscription. And if anything, it will stay. Hopefully, it's still in print for a couple of weeks after it releases, and they can still get you a copy. If not, you can definitely get issue 3 when that releases. And to check out a full list of the Alterna Comics, head on over to alternacomics.com. You can see the rest of the newsprint issues for $1.50. You can't beat that. $1.50 for an issue, and you too can enjoy some indie comics.
And with that, we will wrap up our podcast for the week. We talked about a lot of stuff.
We did. I want to give a huge thanks to the listeners who gave us a lot of really kind words and tweets over our 250th episode, and what is a milestone for us. We're really proud that we were able to make it that far. So huge thanks to all of you who shared those kind words. Again, that really helps us keep going on the show and on the podcast. And, we're happy that you are enjoying the podcast every week.
If you guys haven't yet, you can follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Palpakelly. I tweet hilarious things.
When you do, yes.
When I tweet. So definitely follow us on there. And if you would like your very own The Reasons I'm Broke t-shirt, you can head on over to thereansonsimbroke.com and click on our shop.
I'm about to put up a new design.
Ooh.
I have submitted the order for the new logo, or I guess it's not a logo, but you've seen it. You know what it is.
I do know what it is.
You know what it is.
I'm not going to say anything.
You saw my process through it.
Yes.
It's an original
thing.
Darth Vader Daniel design.
Okay.
Just like the 80s or the 90s podcast logo. And I always try to keep it in house as far as the t-shirt stuff.
So is it a Darth Vader Dan design?
There you go. Darth Vader. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect.
Darth Vader.
You got to tell me how to spell that though, because
okay.
I'm already having trouble pronouncing it. So, I should have that new t-shirt logo up hopefully in the next month. It depends on how much work Lazy Nerds Designs has now, because he has to print out the template for it. And I don't know how they do that. It's like a laser thing, and then they have the template. I'm not sure, but he's working on that. And then I'm going to get the prototype t-shirt, and once I approve it or give him the changes, then we'll put it up on the shop. So stay tuned. We'll announce it on the podcast. We'll put it up on Patreon, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. As you mentioned, the link for everywhere you can find us, head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Daniel.
I'm Kelly.
We'll see you next week.